coming this afternoon. It's been great being able to get in front of everybody as frequently as we have lately. We had the resume the sync meeting on Saturday, and we were a little adventurous and tried to include more people than just what was in here, but that didn't work out so well with our Wi-Fi bandwidth over here. So we're seeing what we can do to improve that for future times, and I'm planning on getting a hotspot just in case that might work as well to help us out with that. But a lot of communication that's been going on lately. I did not prepare a presentation today because I figured maybe now we're at a point where it would be good to just have more of a dialogue and a chat. And now I could ask you all a few questions, and you could tell me how things are going. You can ask me a few questions, and I can inform you with the best knowledge that I have. So this week we made an adjustment in our dining service in the dining room. How many people are eating in the dining room? Okay. Things working out well with the new configuration?
No.
How come?
You can get in at normal time.
So you're saying that from time to time, it just started. So what we did is, based on our usage, we've been averaging about 53 to 54 people a meal eating. That's the 2 times that we were having before. And we sat about 44 each seating. So we actually increased the tables some. We increased 8 seats in there to help make the transition go smoother. But this is really to help with the efficiency of the kitchen and how we can best serve you, and also minimize some of the congregation that's going on. With this approach, there is the possibility that someone might not be able to get a seat. But we did increase the number of seats to try to mitigate that as much as possible. And from what I've heard, we've been able to satisfy most everybody, but David did tell me today that today there was probably about 4 people that had to be turned away. So I do apologize for that. We're continuing to do the reservation program the same way we have in the past, which is you can call 48 hours in advance and make your reservations. So I hope that enables everybody to have the same access, or the access that they desire to have. But other than not being able to get a seat, which I understand is really important, is there any other feedback that you all can give me in regards to the new configuration for the dining service? Okay.
I might point out that the meals have been very good lately, so that I'd point out that more and more people are coming to dinner because the food has been so good. So that might be cranked into your calculations on that. Thanks, Don.
We get the home delivery usually, and it's just as good.
Good.
They're right on time and I'm sorry. I said we get the home delivery usually, and it is excellent. And they're right on time for delivery and everything, which works great with that.
Good.
And very much appreciated.
Yeah, I've been hearing some pretty favorable comments, especially this past month. The comment cards were very favorable that were completed. So I do believe that people are enjoying having the dining room, and we want to be able to continue that as much as we possibly can. And then we do have the hot service to the homes as well, which is better than what we were doing before. And so I think that we're trying to satisfy everybody but there may be time to time where you might make a reservation and not be able to get in.
I miss the menu that is more extensive. I know that Orlando has prohibited it. I was told by one person in the dining staff that they're ready to go whenever Orlando will let them do it. And I miss being able to get egg salad or a hamburger or something extra, because I'm frankly not enamored with most of the entrees.
Okay. And the meal, the every always available menu has been a topic, and there are people that are expressing an interest in that as well from other communities as well as ours. So hopefully that can be an adjustment that we make in the near future. I don't know if you all have been tracking, how the COVID is doing lately, but we've definitely been seeing a downward turn, a favorable turn in the state of Florida since July the 25th. Some people were thinking that, that the decrease in cases around the time that the hurricane was present was because a lot of the testing stations had shut down. But even after that, there was a little bit of a bump up, but not as high as it had been before. And but the trajectory is still on a downward turn, ever since July the 25th. So we're making a lot of improvement. I saw on the news where we were one of the states that has decreased by more than 50%. And our area here in Jacksonville is actually improving at a faster rate than the whole state is, as you may imagine. Our color, there's a graph of the state by counties, and our Duval County and St. Johns County are lighter shades of blue than the hotter spot areas. So things are looking good from that perspective. And the next services that we are looking to resume is the boutique and the country store with the use of resident volunteers. We started utilizing resident volunteers for the tram driving, and I hope that is alleviating, some of the concern that was out there before when people were having to wait because we can only have 2 people on a tram at a time. So having that additional support from those residents is greatly appreciated, and we're looking to try to get more resident volunteers back and doing the things that y'all have a passion for and everything. So we're probably going to need to start with clearing out the boutique and determining what's seasonally appropriate, in there, and then kind of getting it ready for use again. The topic of visitation is also a topic that is being discussed across all the communities with the resident council presidents. And the protocol that was drafted initially had a lot of the language and suggestions that our own resident council president proposed, Kathy Vandervliet, and when we reviewed it this past Tuesday, the communities were about 50-50, and on wanting to resume or wanting to allow visitation or not allow visitation. And some of that may have to do with the layout of their community and the structure of their community. But there was also concern about still the number of cases that are out there and then the risk of Labor Day weekend, because back when Memorial Day weekend happened, we saw everything shoot way up. So we're going to be reviewing an updated proposal next week and determine what direction we're going to go there. But we do recognize that this is a tough time for everybody, and we want to be able to spend time with our friends and families. And you know, all of us have the opportunity to leave campus and to go and visit at their homes, as long as you have, you know, family that is local. But not everybody has that opportunity, and you know, we want to try to provide services that are going to meet everybody's needs. So I hope that everybody is comfortable with how things have been going here and our continuous resumption of services, and I'll continue to keep you updated on what's likely to be happening next, and go from that point. Any questions?
Just a question. I'm curious. Okay, do you want me to hold it? Okay. I'm just curious. Like at 7 o'clock in the morning, there's a tremendous amount of, it looks like pumping of water on the other end over here. And I was just wondering what that is, because I thought surely they must be pulling a big pipe or hose or something out of there, as long as they've been doing it all day long. What is that over there?
Mr. Gray is asking about the water that's getting pumped out in between B and C,
Right.
garden apartments. And what we're doing is installing a new sewer lift station, which is going to give a whole new sewer line and solution to all of the garden apartments. So because of the water table in this area, all the water has to come out first, and then they'll be putting in the lift station. The lift station is going to come in 3 different parts. You've probably seen the trucks going back and forth across the back here. We still have the lift station that has to come onto campus, but we're getting closer to getting to that point. But we're expecting this work to go on for the rest of the month.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hi, Brian. My name is Mike Nash, and my wife and I, Ann, live in Southwood. I have a question and a by the way, it's good to see you. Not seen you yet. Welcome.
Good to see you too.
There you go. Okay, that's better. Now I know who you are. I understand there's a hiring freeze going on. My question is, when might that stop? And the reason I ask that is because the house cleaning service, as you probably know, is dropped down to one person, one lady. And by the way, those ladies are terrific. They really are great. But we only have one, and the time limit for that one person does not let her do everything that has to be done, as the 2 used to do. When might we get that back, please?
In regards to the hiring freeze, initially when all of this happened and we saw occupancy going down, most specifically in the health center, we were under a quote-unquote hiring freeze. But in reality, what we're doing is we're evaluating the need for the positions as positions come vacated. And we're currently hiring for servers, a cook, nurses, CNAs, and a health resource nurse. And I have a proposal out right now for security, and John and I need to work on a housekeeper proposal too. We talked about that this week during our meeting. I asked them to get some numbers together. But I want to ask you, and I realize that not everybody has the same size place, but how much time are they spending in your villa?
One person, probably an hour and 15 minutes.
One person, an hour and 15?
With 2 people, they did it in an hour, and they got everything done. Now, everything does not get done because of the time limit.
Okay,
It's taking 2 hours in Manila.
2 hours? Okay,
Our person comes early, so she can get done as much as she wants. Our person comes early, which just surprises us because she's still doing what she's supposed to, but she wants to get it done.
yeah, they're really great workers. What they want to do a great job for everybody. John did tell me that in Southwood, because I was asking him, are we getting the floors that are not carpet done? And he was telling me that previously he was sending 2 people, but now is only able to send 1. And I said, well, you know, that's justification for us to make a proposal. So we'll get on that, and hopefully we'll be able to get.
We need 2, thank you.
Yeah, I understand how many positions are vacant.
You announced in a letter that dusting would resume, but dusting has not resumed because they don't have enough time. Did you?
Okay.
I have a question as to what to expect. We are now in hurricane season. What kind of arrangements can possibly be made for that? If we need to evacuate, et cetera, which is bound to happen sooner or later.
Right. Yeah, they're projecting a very active season this year. They're comparing it to 2005, when a bunch of storms went across the middle of the state. And that was my last memorable hurricane season when I was in Florida previously. I had moved out of Florida in January of 2007, and I was right in the thick of all of those storms that were going across the middle of the state when I was living in Brandon area outside of Tampa. And my territory was the center of the state. So very familiar with how that was, and I'm very happy with how things worked out with this first storm that came by us. And we're going to continue to keep praying that we are unaffected this year, because any evacuation this year is going to be problematic. We are encouraging everybody in independent living to make arrangements to be with family. I know that some people stay here, and you know, and that's their prerogative to do so. But we'll be, you know, really focused on trying to get the assisted living and the skilled nursing residents into locations that are going to be safe and meet our needs. But we'll be doing pretty much the same that we've done in the past, going to other communities. And we've got reciprocal agreements where if someone needed to evacuate, they would come to us if, you know, we were in a safe area. And if we have to evacuate, which is most likely the case because we are in an evacuation zone, that we would go to them. We generally go to our own communities first, so we would probably go to St. Augustine for as many as we can allow, as they can accommodate. But then there's some other communities that we've used in the past that we would be engaging as well.
Some of us have to go out of state to be with family.
Yes, ma'am.
Independent living. So that's problematic.
And she said some of us need to go out of state to get to family, and I understand that as well.
If you want your comment recorded, which we do want your comment recorded, you need to have it on a microphone in order for it to be recorded. Okay.
Brian?
Yes, Ann?
Wow, that's loud. You mentioned another opening for a health resource nurse. Is that in addition to Cynthia?
Yes, there was a part-time person, and I guess the position was vacated earlier this year. And at the time, they held off on replacing it, but we're moving forward on replacing that position now. As I've been talking with people, you know, it sounds as if some people feel as if they're left to their own devices to figure out what to do or how to manage, lifestyle here on campus. And I would like to see that part-time person take on more of the responsibility of the health resource part, and that would be, being a valuable resource, to those that live here that are either aging in place or going through the continuum. And then Cynthia continues to do the nursing aspect with the doctors and everything to that effect. So that's the direction that we're looking to go as we fill that position.
So would that mean anything in the line of additional hours after hours, or she'd be here when Cynthia's here?
I would think that she would be here when Cynthia would be here, because when Cynthia is not here, we would want her to be backing up Cynthia so that those normal business hours were always covered. I don't know that there's a whole lot of, doctors' clinics or whatever that are open after hours, but I don't think that I think it's going to be more valuable for her to be here during the day and be of support to the people that are living here on the campus.
Robert Thomason, Southwood.
Yes, sir.
I want to offer a different interpretation of what's happening with the COVID disease. I think we all want to be optimistic and think things are getting better. But if you heard the statement by the director of CDC today, you shouldn't be thinking that. We had just under 8,000 new cases in Florida yesterday. Things are not getting worse as rapidly as they were. I think you could say that. But I think when we let our guard down, we're in for a much more serious consequences. And everybody, particularly the political figures, want to paint an optimistic picture of what's happening. But if you listen to the health folks, that's not the picture that I see. And I'm very vigilant about watching the news.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to offer that other interpretation of what's going on.
Thank you. Our organization has been very conservative in our approach to handling the coronavirus pandemic. And even when some services were okay to resume, we delayed that a little bit more. And we will continue to be taking a conservative approach. And where we are resuming, we usually pilot it at one facility, one community first, and then see how that goes, and then roll it out to the other communities. And we're trying to do what's reasonable and safe, because safety is a major premise of what we do here, safety and security. So I appreciate what you're saying. It is a very contagious virus, and I can't be prouder of everybody and how they have exhibited personal responsibility and not allowing this virus to spread on our campus.
We have a number of people on campus that have breathing issues, and a lot live in independent living. They have oxygen needs, they have other breathing equipment. So, it might not, if the lights go out like they did for all those hours, none of that equipment is going to work. And that's a real concern. And in case anyone is interested, flu shots are now being given. They're off campus at Publix, but they have the new vaccine I had mine today, and the health people say, go ahead and take it as soon as you can.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to share that with everybody.
Okay. So there are emergency devices for people on oxygen as well. There's the green canisters, they call them e-tanks, that can provide oxygen without electricity. There's also battery pack things. So, I mean, if anybody is on oxygen, you know, this is the time of the season to make sure that you've got something that works without electricity. But I've asked Cynthia to also be conscientious about who those people are that have oxygen and make sure that we're providing them support if the power goes out.
Just a comment on Robert's thing. Yesterday, the governor said he noted the spike, but when he checked into it, he said one big lab had dumped a lot of data that went all the way back to April, and that accounted for some of the spike. So I think it's going down gradually. The thing that concerns me on campus is people who don't wear masks or wear masks like this and think it's all right, but it isn't all right, because that's where most of the stuff comes out of the nose.
Thank you for that.
Why are the doctors not coming on campus? We're only having virtual appointments.
Right. So any routine appointments are recommended to be done by telehealth, and essential appointments are appointments that people are encouraged to go to the doctor's office for them. We did have the podiatrist here yesterday for people that are diabetic, and we are going to continue to do that on a monthly basis. And Cynthia can work with the individuals on how to best handle their appointments with this new climate that we're in right now.
I'd like to expand on Robert's comments. What I'm concerned about now is the children are going back to school. It's going to spread now. You're going to have children who pick it up, they take it home, mom and dad has it, and if we visit at home, if they're our relative, then there's a great possibility it will come to us. And I just feel that we need to be very vigilant in staying where we are. Although I'd love to see my daughter and her husband, they don't leave their house if they can't order it and get it. It's just not gotten. So, and another thing is, I know you have a boss. I know that. I'm well aware of it. And I know sometimes your hands are tied as to things. But people realize things are going on. They realize certain people are sick. They realize certain people have passed away. And then they get very questionable about what has happened. They haven't heard anything. And I know you can't divulge names, things, I realize that. But when we don't know, then it creates a mystery. And then things begin to be talked about and exaggerated, and it comes out to be a bad thing. It's like the old gossip thing. Mm-hmm. So if we can know, as a family, know what's going on before someone else tells us, then we'll be happier people, trusting people, mm-hmm. that sort of thing. And I'm just wanting to encourage that.
Okay. Thank you. Yesterday we did our every 2-week testing, and we started out with a Q-tip going up our noses. And then we went to the mouth swab ones where somebody else was doing the mouth swab. And then yesterday was the first time that we did self-swabs. And we had 209 people that were tested yesterday. We're testing our contractors that are here on a regular basis, the grounds guys, the unit turn guys, the beauticians, painters, those people all get tested as well. And on each of the previous tests, there was always some people that came back indeterminate, and we had to test them again. And the indeterminates always come back first. Well, we've got all but 7. So we got 202 test results back this morning that were all negative and no indeterminates. So we're just waiting on the other 7. What we think they do is we think they do this at night. And they get as many done as they can. And then they sit, and then the ones that didn't get done the night before, when the person comes back in, completes them. So by tomorrow morning, we should know what the other 7 results were. But this will be our first time in weeks that we have not had a positive if these 7 come back negative. So we're really optimistic about that, and hoping that we are turning a corner here, because I can appreciate, along with you all, I hope you can appreciate my concern of the positive notifications that I've had to share with you all as well. And just one of the things that I do know is that those that have tested positive have not, we do the tracking and tracing to see who they came into close or casual contact with, and very few people that came into contact with those people that exposed people on our campus ended up coming up positive. So that's where we've really been able to control the spread here by us using the N95s in the health center and the assisted living. Maintenance has even been using N95s when they go into your houses. And the changing of the clothes, all the different things that we're doing to try to make sure that we don't spread it is working. And that gets back to the conservative approach that we have going on here as well. I don't see as many people not wearing masks. In fact, my boss was here Tuesday, the day that we were doing the testing, and I was kind of proud to say, and for her to see, all the people that were walking around inside and outside that had their mask on properly. So I'm sure that there are some, I know of some, that have different beliefs about the masks, and everybody's able to do their own thing. But as you have seen with the signs that we've put out, if you want to participate in something that we're sponsoring, a mask is required, and that even includes coming to the dining room. We don't have masks on while we're eating, but you got to come with a mask on. And but I've been pretty proud of how everybody is handling this and wearing their masks, and I don't see as many of those variances, but I'm sure that there are some out there. Yes, ma'am?
Where is the closest place to be tested?
The closest place is the Avancina Urgent Care. That's right around the corner. You can go to any one of those.
Avencia, it's urgent care in Boston. Yeah, right off the bat on
Orange Avenue.
It's the Avancina Urgent Care. Yes, over there off of Orange and Racetrack. So if you look in the chimes, everywhere that you can get tested is in the chimes. That was one of the things that was requested in these meetings early on, was where can we get tested? And we provided that information. I think that Flagler Hospital is the only free place, in the county. And then there's also the stadium if you want to do that as well. But the others, you might have to use your insurance or pay out of pocket in order to get tested.
One thing I've been thinking about is how many of our employees have children who will be returning to school. I know that we're all very careful and we're testing our employees, but that's the place that I think we're going to be most vulnerable. And that's just a thought, because I think when we think realistically about our situation, that's a big factor that Carol has brought up. The other thing I wanted to say, I think I've forgotten, but it may come back to me.
It's called sometimers disease. Yeah, we all have it. So one thing that I'm amazed at is the way that different businesses adapted, to this new climate that we're all in. And I'm sure that you all have made adaptations in what you do on how you get your groceries or your medicine, or maybe there's other things. But I was wondering if anybody would want to share, something that they've started doing as a result of coronavirus that they will continue even after coronavirus.
Yeah, one thing that people might not know is that Walgreens has a drive-through, and you can order anything you want on the phone at Walgreens, and they'll package it up, and then you can drive through, not go in the store, and they'll just pass it through the window at the drive-through,
right?
Which is very convenient.
That is good.
Where? Okay.
She said CVS.
And one thing, Robert, you asked about kids going to school. We've got a granddaughter who's going to be a junior at North Florida, and they're going back to school. We have a grandson who's going to be a junior living in St. Augustine. He's going to go back to school. Our daughter is a librarian in St. Augustine, and she will be going back to school. Just for information, our granddaughter, who's 20 years old at North Florida, had the virus. She was sick for about 8 to 10 days. She's doing fine now over it. Our daughter-in-law, her mother got the virus. They live in Jacksonville, and she got through it. She's fine now. She was sick for about 8 to 10 days also. So it can be cured. They can get through it, and the kids want to go back to school.
I have the microphone now, I think, so I know what I wanted to say. You helped trigger it. The last time I was at a meeting with you, you described how important it was to wear your mask when you left your house and leave it on until you got back in your house. I was not doing that. I was wearing my mask, and when I wasn't meeting somebody, I took it down and I put it back up when I met somebody. And you explained why that was important, that the droplets continued to be in the air even after you passed persons. So I started doing it all the time. I think that's a lesson that needs to be taught again. You taught me last time, but there are a lot of people, including staff, who haven't learned that lesson yet.
Well, I think the biggest way to influence good mask wearing is that we're not just, regardless of what our own thoughts are, we're concerned about everybody else. And that is a prevailing quality of this campus. And, we're always looking out for one another. We do things, for each other. And some of us have chronic illnesses that are more susceptible to either the flu or the coronavirus or whatever. And just because I might be young and healthy or whatever it might be, you know, my not using a mask could harm somebody else. And one thing that I've heard everybody say is, I don't want to be the one that infects somebody else here on campus. And that's what it all comes back down to. So I don't know how long the droplets stay in the air. I don't know any of that stuff. But if there's something that I can do to help protect other people, then that's what I want to do.
One concern I have is that we are treated in Westminster communities as if we're all the same. And what happens in Tampa is very different from what happens on a campus like this, or in a high-rise, or even St. Augustine, which is more compact. It seems that it would be good for corporate to look at individual communities and their own need and uniqueness. Thank you.
Sure. And I've been very impressed with Westminster Communities of Florida. A lot of times people will, say, does, an organization have the right heart for the business? And I definitely believe that Westminster Communities of Florida has the right heart for the business, that they have the people that we're serving and the people that we're working with as first priorities. And I would say that they are looking at us uniquely. Because of our campus, there's a lot that we can do here that other campuses can't. We're one of 3 communities that have the dining room open right now. And as Kathy, would share with you, a lot of that stemmed from the residents and the resident council presidents, not the organization saying you got to close down. They were having cases on their campus, maybe more so in Independent than we have. And even with the notification letters that I've been sending out, there has not been one hint of, Brian, are you sure you're doing the right thing up there? I mean, they're totally trusting us to do the right thing.
I don't get that feeling from the letters from Mr. Henry.
Okay. All right.
Brian, I'm going to change the subject here.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a real, I don't know what you call it, with the tram drivers. We walk from North Point over here all the time, and the tram drivers come flying up behind us. I don't hear them until they're right on top of me. Is there any, they don't need a horn to scare you to death. If they just had a bicycle bell or something to give you a warning that they are approaching you, I mean, they come flying up and, by the time you hear them, they're practically right on your heels. And if they would just use a little bicycle bell or something to warn you that they are approaching you, it would be so helpful.
It's always alarming when somebody comes up behind you, isn't it? I mean, I run or bicycle, and when I'm coming up on somebody, I'll say, passing on your left, or something to that effect, just so that they're not startled, because even if they have headphones on, it's like, I don't know, maybe they can hear me, maybe they can't. But I can tell when they're more startled than other times. Yeah.
Well, just a little bicycle bell would not startle you.
I have one, and they won't hear it.
From an ex-tram driver.
Yes, I started here driving tram, and what I would do, and maybe we just need to remind the drivers just to stop and think, when they're coming up behind you, slow their speeds. But when I'd come up behind residents, I would slow and say, hello, someone's behind you, just to let you know. so it wasn't coming right up on top of you. So maybe they just will send out a reminder.
We'll talk to them and see what we can do, and if the, we've been addressing those that are driving fast.
Someone was actually hit in the dump, going to the dump a couple weeks ago.
I don't know that they actually hit, but someone fell off of their scooter because someone was driving faster than they should. And what we're doing is we're putting a stop sign up here by this breezeway to stop them from getting their speed up down this whole way. Do they? Okay. Carol?
Everyone drives too fast. It's not just the trams, it's the maintenance people, it's the kitchen people, it's everyone. And the thing that they don't realize, and they don't slow down, you either move over or you're going to get run over, one of the two.
Not everyone. Not everyone. There are some trained drivers.
Okay, then I'll take that back. The majority of everybody. But the thing too is, I have a little dog, so does a lot of other people. And if we don't hear them, and I don't hear them, I have hearing issues, then my dog I can be over on the side, but my dog decides, oh, something smells like I need to go over and check it out, then they're going to hit my dog. If I know they're there, I can keep her closer. But we just need to know. And we've been through this with Amanda and whatever. We've talked about bells. We've talked, it just hasn't happened. And I've almost been hit twice by people not looking. When they pull out, they just pull out. And if you're next to them, there's a big chance you're going to be on the ground soon.
Are you all feeling like people are coming up behind you in any particular part of our campus, like on Main Street or Longer Lane?
Everywhere.
Because on Main Street, we've got the direction, for the carts, to be on one side and the walkers to be on the other. Uh-huh.
Well, sometimes, and this is where my two things started, they're not driving on their side. They're parked over next to the building. And you're riding your bike by, and they don't look. They jump in the cart and they just pull out. And that's how I was almost hit twice. So it's the fact they're not paying attention with their driving either.
Okay.
The dam is problematic too because only one can go one way on the dam.
The dam is problematic too because you can only go one way, and yes, that's true. But I would expect, someone in a cart to slow down and not try to get around somebody that's walking on the dam.
I'll just make one comment on the drivers. I think we need to be reminded periodically that pedestrians have the right of way, and they ought not to get off the sidewalk to accommodate the tram or golf carts. It's not safe to do that, and it's a constant reminding, I think, to people. But I've only had 2 incidents. The first time I didn't say anything. The second time it was the same tram driver, almost in the same location. And I called and reported him. And I got a response saying that he had been spoken to. So I think we ought to do that. I think we need to report people because people are careless. Nobody's intending to harm anybody. It's just people are careless. And
Okay. I think that's a great comment, and it's something that I can reinforce in a future letter to both residents and staff.
One thing in defense of the drivers, many pedestrians weave. When they cross the bridge, the dam, they just go back and forth, and it's very hard when you drive a tram or a golf cart. You don't know where they're going, and so that's kind of in defense of those of us that drive a golf cart.
I think the pressure that, particularly at dining times, that the tram drivers feel is pretty significant. And I know you've added drivers and that helps. But I know that from talking to them that they feel like they're not understood by patient people, that they can only do so much. And one of them spoke to me recently and said they have never met with you. And I think that would be a good idea. So, okay. For what it's worth.
The tram drivers have never met with me? Okay. I talk to them regularly. All right. Any other topics that y'all are interested in or want to ask me about?
Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you for all you're doing. I'm just amazed at having to come at such an awkward time. And you're really trying to listen and trying to help, so we really appreciate that.
I'm happy to.
I don't know if you had anything to do with the meal that Larry fixed yesterday for lunch. If you did, thank you. It was wonderful. Whoever wasn't there missed something it should not have.
That was another thing that we resumed yesterday, and that was a chef demonstration. Are you talking about that meal? Yeah, the chef demonstration. It was for 10 people in the gathering place. And I believe that they plan on doing more. So others would have the opportunity to do that as well.
Brian, I know this has been running the ground, but is there any recent news on the memory care facility that's to be built some year?
Oh, yeah. Actually, we're doing a redevelopment committee meeting later this month. And we're going to be showing the elevations of the inside and outside of the memory care assisted living that will be built at the end of this year. Started to be built at the end of this year. Yeah, we're moving forward. The zoning, the county didn't have any problems with the zoning. We're now asking for requests for proposals from contractors on the building of it. And so things are moving along. All right. Well, thank you all very much for coming out. And I will be off tomorrow and Monday. So if you need to get in touch with me, please call Lisa. And I'll try to make sure that I put a message on my voicemail letting you know that I'm not here Monday and Friday and to call Lisa. And if ever you do need to get in touch with me and it's more urgent of a matter, I can probably get the information quicker if you call Lisa and then she tells me versus me getting to my voicemail. Okay? Thank you.
Lived in Williamsburg, did you